A retired teacher in Iowa, 51 years behind the wheel, not a single accident. She was sitting at a red light, glanced down at her phone for 3 seconds to check a text from her daughter, and 2 weeks later, a $100 fine arrived in the mail. She almost didn't open it. She thought it was junk. It wasn't. And because she waited, a late fee attached itself to that fine before she even realized what had happened. That fine could have been avoided in 10 seconds. But nobody told her the rules had changed. That is exactly why you need to watch this video right now. I'm Dave, and for the past several months I've been tracking every DMV update, every state enforcement change, and every new insurance regulation that affects drivers like you, so you don't have to. What's happening in 2026 is not one giant new law, it's 7 specific changes rolling out right now that are already costing American drivers real money, and if you're over 60 and still on the road, you need to know every single one of them. Here is the big picture first, because before we get into the rules themselves, you need to understand why 2026 is different from every other year. For most of your driving life, the system gave you a chance. An officer had to see you, an officer had to pull you over, an officer had to make a judgment call. There was a human being in the loop. If you had a clean record, there was often a warning that era is ending rapidly. What's replacing it is technology that doesn't blink, doesn't get tired, doesn't give warnings, and doesn't care how many years you've been driving safely. Cameras, databases, automated systems that flag your car before an officer ever looks up from his coffee. Before 2026, many of these systems were still in pilot programs. They were testing them. Now the testing is over. The systems are live, the fines are real, and millions of experienced drivers have no idea it has changed. Here's what makes this personal: your independence, your ability to get in your car and drive to your doctor, your grandkids, the grocery store, your church. That independence does not disappear dramatically. It disappears gradually. First a fine you didn't expect, then points on your license you didn't plan for, then an insurance rate that quietly doubles, then a renewal that doesn't go through because of a vision test you weren't prepared for. Each step feels small. Together they can take everything away. You've been driving safely for decades, that matters deeply, but 2026 has changed the playing field in ways that don't care about your record. And the very first change is one that almost every driver over 60 is getting wrong right now. Rule number 1, holding your phone at a red light is now a ticketable offense in 31 states, and in many of those states, officers don't even need another reason to pull you over. Here's what changed. For years, most states had what's called secondary enforcement. That meant a cop could only ticket you for phone use if he had already pulled you over for something else: speeding, a lane violation, a broken tail light. In 2026, that grace period has expired. States including Iowa, Michigan, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Oklahoma have now shifted to primary enforcement. That means your phone in your hand is all the reason they need. And in states like Iowa, this kicked in on January 1st of this year, with zero warning to drivers who had been used to the old way. Now imagine this. You are driving to your cardiologist's appointment. You stop at a red light 2 blocks from the office. Your phone buzzes. You pick it up just to silence it. You don't even read anything. You set it back down. Light turns green. You drive away feeling fine. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrives at your house. Inside is a $100 fine in Iowa, a $200 fine in New Jersey, up to $500 in Louisiana, and in Oregon, which has one of the strictest phone laws in the country, a first offense can cost you up to $1,000 for picking up a phone at a red light. But here is what makes this even more expensive than the fine itself. The moment that citation hits your driving record, your insurance company sees it, and in most states, a distracted driving violation now carries heavier points than it did just 2 or 3 years ago. Insurance companies are adjusting their risk models in real time. A single phone violation can raise your annual premium by 15 to 30%. If you're paying $1,400 a year right now, that's an extra $210 to $420 added to your bill every single year going forward from one 3-second mistake. Here is the fix, and it is simple. Before you start your car, put your phone in your glove box or your cup holder face down. If you need navigation, set it before you pull out of the driveway. If your phone rings while you're driving, let it go to voicemail. Almost every smartphone made in the last 5 years has a Do Not Disturb. While driving setting you can turn on permanently. Go into your settings tonight and turn it on. That one action eliminates the risk completely. But the phone law is just the beginning, because there is an even more invisible trap waiting for you every time you get behind the wheel, and it doesn't require you to do anything wrong in the moment. Rule number 2, speed cameras and red light cameras are spreading across America faster than most people realize, and the tickets they generate can follow you for months before you even know they exist. New York City alone is expanding its red light camera program from around 150 locations to 600 intersections by the end of 2026, that is quadrupling, in one city. Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina are leading a major red light camera push across the South. Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan have expanded automated cameras specifically in work zones, and the trend is national, not regional, not experimental, national. Here is why this is different from getting pulled over. When a camera catches you, the ticket goes to the registered owner of the vehicle, not the driver they saw. The citation is mailed to your home. It can take 2 to 6 weeks to arrive. If you moved recently and your address on file at the DMV is old, it may never reach you at all. And here's the dangerous part. If you miss that ticket, late fees attach automatically. In many states, ignoring a camera ticket long enough will result in your registration being suspended. That means every time you drive, you are driving an unregistered vehicle, which is a separate violation with its own fines, and in some states, it can lead to your car being impounded. Picture this. You are driving through a work zone on the highway. You're doing 60 in what you thought was a 55, but the temporary speed limit has dropped to 45. You never even saw the camera on the shoulder. 6 weeks later, you get a notice in the mail, but it went to your address from 7 years ago. You never see it. 3 months pass. Your next registration renewal is declined because of an outstanding ticket you didn't know existed. The fix here is also straightforward. First, make sure your address at the DMV is current. You can verify this online in most states in under 5 minutes. Second, if you ever drive through a new city, a construction zone, or an area you don't know well, drive 5 miles per hour under the posted limit for that stretch. The camera doesn't care that you didn't know. Third, every 30 to 60 days, check your state's DMV portal for any outstanding violations or flags on your license. Most states now have this available online. If you're still watching, I want to say something. You're paying attention. That puts you ahead of the majority of drivers out there who will be blindsided by what comes next. And speaking of blindsided, what I'm about to tell you about alcohol limits might be the most important thing in this entire video. Rule number 3. The legal alcohol limit is getting tighter, and after just 1 or 2 drinks, you may be closer to that line than you think. The standard blood alcohol limit in most states remains at 0.08%, but Utah has already dropped its legal limit to 0.05%, making it the strictest in the country, and Utah is not alone in tightening DUI enforcement in 2026. California just extended its ignition interlock device program all the way to 2033, meaning anyone convicted of a DUI in California must install a breathalyzer device in their car at their own expense. In Utah, starting January 1st of this year, drivers convicted of an extreme DUI, a blood alcohol level of 0.16 or higher, now have the words "no alcohol" stamped directly onto their driver's license, visible to every officer, every car rental agent, every traffic stop for the rest of their license period. But let's talk about what matters most to you personally. At 0.05%, a 160-pound person can reach that limit after just 1.5 to 2 drinks in an hour. If you are older, if you take any prescription medications, if you haven't eaten much that day, your body processes alcohol differently than it did at 40. The window between "I feel fine" and "I am over the legal limit" has narrowed, and the consequences have not. A first offense DUI will cost you a minimum of $1,000 in fines in most states. That's before attorney fees, court costs, and mandatory alcohol education programs. When you add it all up, fines, legal fees, ignition interlock installation, license reinstatement fees, and the insurance increase a single DUI conviction carries, a total financial impact of $15,000 to $25,000 or more, and in many states, a DUI conviction will cause your insurance company to double or triple your annual premium or drop you entirely. The fix is uncomplicated. If you plan to have more than 1 drink at dinner, arrange your ride home before you leave the house. That decision takes 30 seconds. The alternative could take years to recover from. And while we are talking about money, there is a rule change affecting a growing number of drivers that almost nobody is paying attention to yet. Rule number 4. If you drive an electric vehicle or a hybrid, you are about to pay significantly more at registration time, and if you drive an older gas-powered vehicle, new emissions requirements could cost you hundreds before your tags will even renew. In Michigan, annual registration fees for electric vehicles have jumped from $160 to $267, an increase of more than 60%, making Michigan now the most expensive state in the country for EV registration. In Kansas, all electric vehicle registration fees increased from $100 to $165, and plug-in hybrids went from $50 to $100, both effective January 1st of this year. 40 states across the country now charge a special EV registration fee. That number was 28 just 3 years ago. Why is this happening? A simple, gas tax has always been how states fund road maintenance. Electric vehicle drivers don't pay gas tax, so states are making up the difference at registration time, and that gap is growing every year. If you drive a gas-powered vehicle, especially an older one, the news is different but equally important. States, including California, are tightening emissions standards in 2026. If your vehicle fails an emissions inspection, you may be required to complete specific repairs before your registration can be renewed in California. Those repair costs can range from a few $100s to well over $1,000 depending on what your car needs. Renewal is denied until those repairs are made. The fix: if you own an EV or hybrid, check your state's DMV website to confirm your new registration fee before your renewal arrives. Don't be caught off guard by a bill that is suddenly 60% higher. And if you drive an older gas vehicle, get an emissions pre-check done at a reputable mechanic before your renewal deadline. Catching a problem early gives you time to shop for the best repair price instead of being forced to fix it immediately or lose your tags. Now here is the one that surprises people every time. Most experienced drivers think of themselves as careful, calm, responsible because they are. But the legal definition of reckless driving has been quietly rewritten, and some everyday driving habits that most people consider completely normal are now crossing the line. Rule Number 5. Reckless driving is being redefined in state after state, and what used to be called aggressive driving is now carrying criminal-level consequences. In California, lawmakers unveiled what they are calling the biggest DUI and road safety crackdown in decades in early 2026. Vehicular manslaughter convictions now carry probation of 3 to 5 years, up from 2. The expanded slow down and move over law, effective now, requires you to slow down and change lanes for any stopped vehicle displaying hazard lights, not just emergency vehicles. Missing this in California is now an infraction. In Washington, Oregon, and Colorado, new lane safety laws for stationary vehicles are being actively enforced. But here is what catches everyday drivers off guard: tailgating, aggressive lane changes, and excessive speeding, even if you don't cause an accident, are increasingly being written up as reckless driving rather than simple moving violations. The difference is enormous. A moving violation puts points on your license. A reckless driving charge in many states is a criminal misdemeanor. That means a court appearance, potential license suspension, and a fine that can reach $1,000 to $2,500 on a first offense. Imagine you're running late to a medical appointment. Traffic is slow. You change lanes twice quickly, follow the car ahead a little closer than usual, and accelerate to 80 on a 65-mile-per-hour highway to make up time. In another era, that would have been unremarkable. In 2026, with expanded enforcement and cameras in work zones, that same stretch of highway could produce a reckless driving citation that follows you for years. The fix: give yourself 15 extra minutes for any appointment. Driving calmly and arriving a few minutes late is always better than a reckless driving charge that could cost you your license. Leave earlier, drive steadier, protect your record. Now we are almost at the finish line, and these next two changes might matter the most for drivers in this audience specifically, because they do not just affect your wallet, they affect whether you get to keep driving at all. Rule number 6. License renewal is becoming significantly stricter for older drivers, and if you are not prepared, you could be denied at the counter. This is not a rumor. The requirements are already in effect in multiple states. In California, if you are 70 or older, you must renew your driver's license in person at the DMV every 5 years, and you must pass a vision test at every renewal. Online renewal is not available to you. In Texas, if you are between 79 and 84, you renew in person every 6 years with a mandatory vision screening. If you are 85 or older in Texas, you renew every 2 years in person. In Florida, vision testing is required at age 80 and above, and more states are moving in this direction right now. Here is what matters most. The DMV will not call you and remind you that your vision has changed. They do not send advance preparation materials. They send a notice that says, "Show up and be ready." If you show up and your vision does not meet the required standard, your renewal may be conditional or delayed while you get additional medical documentation. That process can take weeks or months, and during that time, your current license may not be valid. The emotional weight of this is real. Losing your license is not just an inconvenience. It means calling your children for every errand. It means arranging rides to doctors and pharmacies. It means asking for help every single day. The people in this audience have been independent their entire adult lives, and a vision test they were not prepared for is not the way that independence should end. The fix: schedule an eye exam with your optometrist before your renewal period begins. Give yourself at least 2 to 3 months of lead time. If there is any change in your vision, your doctor can work with you on corrective lenses or other solutions. Arrive at the DMV prepared, not caught off guard, and the seventh: change ties. Everything together, because this one is the enforcement mechanism behind every single rule we have talked about today. Rule number 7. Real-time automated databases now verify your insurance status and registration validity every single time you interact with the system, and a lapse you didn't even know about can trigger penalties instantly. This is the shift that most people miss entirely. Before 2026, if your insurance lapsed for a few weeks while you sorted out a payment issue, the odds of anyone noticing were relatively low. You'd fix it, move on, and nothing happened. That system is gone. Multiple states have now implemented or are actively implementing real-time insurance verification databases that cross-check your registration against your active insurance policy. If your insurance lapses even for one day, the system flags your vehicle automatically. You do not receive a warning, you receive a penalty. In some states, driving with a flagged insurance status can result in a fine of $500 to $1,000 on the first offense. Your registration can be suspended, and when a police officer runs your plates, which happens routinely at traffic stops and sometimes randomly, a flagged registration creates immediate legal exposure. On top of that, if your tags are expired and you have been driving, that is a separate violation in every state with specific fines attached. The system is not moving toward warnings anymore. It is moving toward immediate consequences. That is the consistent direction of 2026. Every rule we have covered today reflects this same shift. Here is exactly what I want you to do this week. 5 actions. Each one takes less than 30 minutes. Each one protects something important. First, go to your state DMV website today and confirm that your address on file is current and accurate. If you have moved in the last 3 years and never updated it, do that right now. Camera tickets, renewal notices, and insurance flags all go to your address of record. If that address is wrong, you will miss notices that could cost you significantly. Second, contact your auto insurance company and ask them to walk you through your current policy. Specifically ask, is there any gap in my coverage coming up, and is my policy in good standing right now? Most insurance companies have a phone line staffed by real people who will answer this question in under 10 minutes. Verify, then verify again at each renewal. Third, go into your phone settings today and activate the Do Not Disturb while driving mode. Every major smartphone has it. If you are not sure how, ask a grandchild or call your phone carrier. That one setting eliminates your entire risk under Rule 1. Fourth, if you are 65 or older and your license renewal is coming up in the next 24 months, schedule an eye exam with your optometrist now. Do not wait for the DMV notice to arrive. Get ahead of it. Know where your vision stands. It is information you need regardless of the license, and it could be the difference between sailing through your renewal and being delayed for weeks. Fifth, slow down in construction zones, near cameras, and anywhere you do not know well. Give yourself a buffer of 5 miles per hour under the limit in those areas. The camera does not negotiate, but 5 miles per hour of margin means it never has to. That is your action plan. 5 things, starting today. Here is the one truth I want you to carry with you after you close this video. The rules of the road are always changing, but in 2026 they are changing faster and with more technological enforcement behind them than at any point in American driving history. The system is no longer designed around warnings. It is designed around immediate penalties, automated detection, and financial consequences that stack quickly. You have driven safely for decades. That record is worth protecting, and protecting it in 2026 means knowing the new rules, not just the old ones. The most important thing I want you to remember from everything we covered today is this: a small mistake that used to get a warning now gets a fine, and a fine that gets ignored can become a license suspension. Stay ahead of the system. Do not let it catch you unprepared. Tell me in the comments which of these 7 changes surprised you the most. I read every single one and I love hearing from you. If this helped you today, a quick subscribe takes 2 seconds and it means I can keep making videos like this for you every single week. Take care of yourself out there, drive smart, and I will see you in the next one.